thought from you and the work you're doing with Clayton State University, which is amazing as well.
Wow, those are a lot of points, Solange, in one question.
Yes,
sure
yes.
How many questions is this? Well, I think on the business side, what we have to do is first is focus on those sectors of our economy and the Hungarian economy where partnerships make the most sense. And you look at the strong healthcare pharmaceutical sector in Georgia. You look at Hungary, and they're a leader in Europe in that same field. Those are areas for collaboration. The film industry has always been huge in Hungary. It's the leader of Central Europe in production of films. And that's another area of collaboration. Heavy industry like National Cash Register, NCR, which has a presence in Hungary. We have to ensure that those businesses are being fully supported on the Hungarian side, and I'm happy to serve as a conduit to help them remain satisfied with how they're being received in Hungary. There's another local company, I think it's Smyrna-based, called Colombian Chemicals, which manufactures synthetic rubber products for the automobile industry, primarily in Hungary. Hungary manufactures every Audi TT that you see on the road is assembled in Hungary, and it's just a huge part of their economy that people don't realize often. Automobile parts, which is a strong sector in Georgia, also strong in Hungary. So I think another one that we shouldn't neglect is biotechnology.
Right.
About a year and a half ago, Atlanta hosted an international biotech convention. Hungary was a very large presence there because of its unique situation. It's always looking for alternative energy sources, and biotechnology is extremely important as a method of finding through biomass alternative energy that'll help offset the fact that it relies almost 100% for its fossil fuel imports from outside of its borders, and so it needs to reduce its dependence on other countries, which can use energy as a political leverage and economic leverage that can affect the Hungarian economy and its foreign policy. Looking at tourism is a huge source of income, and we try to promote tourism. I led a media trip to Hungary last year in collaboration with Global Atlanta, and we did a series of articles that promoted Hungarian tourism, Hungarian business in other sectors, Hungarian wines, which are not that well known in our area.
Right.
In fact, there's an event this Saturday night at Spivey Hall at Clayton State University featuring the Takács Quartet, which is a very well-known Hungarian string quartet that tours internationally. And following that performance, we're going to have a reception that features Hungarian wines. So that's one of my goals, is to enhance the presence of Hungary in our region through things like the displays of Hungarian wines.
Right.
There are just so many things that we can do. I'm attending a lunch today at Georgia Tech for a Fulbright scholar from Hungary, just trying to promote educational exchanges between our region. Clayton State University has a Hungarian exchange student here for a semester.
Oh, I need to ask you more about that. That's great information, because we have a lot of young listeners that they will be very interested in finding out about that. But I wanted to ask you briefly, can you repeat again how people can find out information to the event this Saturday? Because I would like to go. I'm sure a lot of the listeners would like to know more about it.
Yes, that's the inaugural event for the season. And it's being co-hosted by the president of Clayton State University, Tim Hines, and myself as Honorary Consul of Hungary. And that event is Saturday night, the Takács String Quartet. Contact Spivey Hall, which is on the campus of Clayton State University.
Okay.
You need to refer to their website. It has all of the numbers, contact information for reserving spaces at that concert, and I would be happy to provide information to anyone who me or sends me an email about that concert. It's going to be quite an event. The cultural attaché from Washington is flying down to introduce the Taikash Quartet. So
that sounds very interesting.
It's quite a big event.
So people can go to the Clayton State University webpage and they will be able to find information there. That's right?
Yes, or Spivey Hall has its own webpage. So if you just look up Spivey Hall, Google it.
Okay. How do you spell it, just for the listeners?
S-P-I-V-E-Y. S-P-I-V-E-Y. Spivey Hall.
Okay.
And that's on the campus of Clayton State University. It's the premier small concert music hall in the southeast United States, we believe. And once you've attended a concert at Spivey Hall, you will have witnessed probably the best acoustics of any small music hall in the South United States.
Okay, well, that sounds wonderful. And I have to tell you, I mean, there's so many more things that I wanted to talk to you about such a beautiful country like Hungary. I've had a wonderful time there. Lake Balaton and all that area is just absolutely beautiful.
It's fantastic.
Yes, so I encourage anybody who has an interest in travel to Europe, you must see Budapest. Is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and I have traveled a lot, and I have to tell you, I wouldn't say that unless I really mean it. I thought it was amazing. People are extremely cultural, and they really are aware of what is happening in the world. Besides that, like you mentioned, the wines and their cafes, and there's so much to be seen there. But I believe it's a country that has a great potential for growing, their economy, I'm sure, even though they're a small country, but I think that they have so much, like the manpower there. They're very well-educated people that probably can work for 1/10 of what a German person will work for.
Well, you make a very interesting point, too, is that the briefings that I received yesterday at the Hungarian embassy gave a very positive outlook for the future. Hungary is an export-driven economy. It has to be because of its location and the types of resources that it has available.
Right.
And their largest trading partner is Germany. If you look at the performance of the European economies in the last year, Germany's a bright spot during these very difficult economic times.
Right.
And as Germany's beginning to import more Hungarian exports. This is a trend that began just a few months ago. We're seeing some noticeable uptick in the Hungarian economy. And while Hungary suffered very severely during this economic crisis in the last couple of years,
right,
there are a lot of positive indicators that show that it may be the growth engine of the future, at least for Central Europe.
Right, because GM, I read that GM Opel will build 3 new engines at the end to the end of 2012, and this is going to be they're moving to Hungary. I mean, that's a good sign for foreign investors, I believe.
Well, yes, and it's not just U.S. foreign investors like GM. Mercedes just opened a huge new manufacturing facility in Hungary, and Audi continues to expand. So a lot of Japanese automobile manufacturers have production facilities in Hungary. So the industry is beginning to show signs of real improvement, and I think there's reason to be optimistic about the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I would like to, first of all, invite you back to our show because it's just great talking to you. There's so much for the listeners and I to learn about Hungary and about everything else that you're doing. I wanted to ask you also a little bit more about Clayton State University and what you're doing there as a director of international programs. If you can just leave us with a final thought on what you're doing there.
At Clayton State, you're correct. I am the director of the international programs. I'm also an assistant professor of international business and global logistics. I teach an MBA course in the business school. But what we're focusing at Clayton State is in expanding the international educational opportunities, not just for students, but for faculty as well. I think a lot of institutions forget the faculty, and of course the primary focus is students. That's the core business. But during these times when we're not seeing pay